Hello, hello. Welcome back. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here before, you likely saw this topic uploaded before. However, I am redoing the video because the air conditioner was competing with my voice and the sound was just not the best. So I am recording it again. I don't mind. I enjoy talking about wellness and growth and God, living for God. So this isn't a burden for me. I'm happy to do it. So today is Tuesday for me. Happy Tuesday. Happy day for you whenever you decide to watch this video. The beverage of today is water, or in my British accent, my wannabe British accent, water. Got some cold water. I hope that you are hydrated. This is your reminder to stay hydrated. Now, today's topic is greed and gluttony, the dangers of both of those spirits. And I will open us up with scripture. The first is 1 Timothy 6, 8 through 10. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. But those who are not financially ethical and crave to get rich with a compulsive, greedy longing for wealth fall into temptation and a trap and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction, leading to personal misery. For the love of money, that is the greedy desire for it and the willingness to gain it unethically, is a root of all sorts of evil. And some, by longing for it, have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves through and through with many sorrows. That is very powerful because of the language used. The craving to get rich with a compulsive, greedy longing for wealth. If you have ever longed for something, money, food, cars, clothes, a person, you likely know what it's like to feel that burning desire, that longing where it's constantly on your mind and you're just thinking, I can't wait to have it. I can't wait to have it. When I get it, I'll feel this way. This is what I'll do with it. Just constantly thinking about it. And as it says, where it becomes dangerous, it's evil rather, is the willingness to gain it unethically. Now, if you want something that strongly, that you are willing to do something immoral for it, you have to check your heart's posture, because you're basically saying, I want this so bad and I will use. So we talk about money. The Says wealth, says money, so we'll stick with money as an example. If you want money that badly that you're willing to do something immoral and unethically to get it, you're serving money at that point. Just the fact that it's unethical and immoral is you saying, I will serve you, Satan, because Satan doesn't care about ethics. Satan doesn't care about morals, the good morals and the values. Likely that the first example that comes to mind with money and gaining it unethically is robbing a bank, robbing someone when it doesn't belong to you. It wasn't given to you freely. And Satan's motive is to kill, steal, and destroy. So you're serving Satan at that point for engaging in those actions. And Satan doesn't care about you. So he promises this temporary pleasure to fill this void. And when you are feeling the shame and the guilt for taking from someone, Satan doesn't care. He's not there with you, soothing you through it and encouraging you to change your ways for the better. He's likely saying, that felt good, do it again, and you'll feel better. Maybe this time wasn't enough for you, but the next time will be even better. And just a lot of foolishness that he would try to deceive you with. But with God, if you are gaining that wealth ethically, working for it, and going through the growing pains, you will gain strength through that. With Satan, there is no growth. With God, there is. And you will also gain more ethically because God sees how good and faithful you are and how you are serving Him by carrying His morals and His values. He's there with you through it. And going back to checking yourself, ask yourself, what is it that I want? How am I willing to get it? Who am I serving? Because if you want something right here, right now, that desire is not the issue. There will be a consequence with everything, and you have to ask yourself, which consequence is worth it? Am I willing to wait a little bit to work and earn this money? Or ask. Think about that. Maybe you don't have to rob somebody. Maybe they're willing to loan you some money. Maybe not even a loan. Maybe they're willing to say, hey, take it. It's rare. I know we hold on to our money because it's how we survive mostly to purchase things. So it's not always given freely. However, that doesn't mean you shouldn't try to ask. And work for it. Yes, working for it takes time, requires patience. You may not get it immediately, and you may not like that. And chances are you will feel better about yourself for going through that process versus doing it unethically and carrying that guilt, that shame, and feeling so bad about yourself, probably not wanting to look at yourself in the mirror. I don't know about you, but that consequence to me does not sound worth it. And that allows you to be present, look at what you have, and how you can work up to getting what you want. Excuse me. I've been told that people don't know that when I'm saying excuse me, it's because I am burping. That's what's happening when I cover and say, excuse me. I don't know if it's a mixture of having my beverage for the day or talking a lot in these videos. However, I just have to burp sometimes. I'm human, so thank you for bearing with me. So, working with what you have. You may not have everything to get where you want to go. That is okay. It is not the end of the world. That just means being creative. If you have a roof over your head, giving thanks for that and looking around what's surrounding you in your roof. What can you use? And if you have yourself, allowing you to be enough, because again, you may not have everything physically. If you have a mouth, use it. If you have fingers, use them. Toes, use them. Eyes, use them. Use what you have. You can speak up by advocating for yourself. Write it down, type it out, point to it with your nose. Put a pencil in your mouth and point and do whatever you can do. If you are here, there is a way. There is a way, and that's the beauty. And that is the gift, because each day is not promised to us. And I think there's an entitlement that people have, that they think they have to have it all now. Some things may come easier, and that's not guaranteed for everything. Whoever told you that, don't ever listen to them again. May sound extreme, and that is the biggest lie, that everything will come easy and that you won't have to do a lot of work. No, we are here to work. I think when people realize that, again, it may not sound good. You may be thinking, well, it's unfair that I have to work. Maybe there's some comparison where you're saying, this person got it easier. Why didn't I have it this way, etc., etc.? And spending too much time on that comparison will rob you of the present moment and going back to, all right, they may have gotten it. Well, guess what? There's your resource. If you see that someone got it easier than you do, maybe they can help you out. And that's what we're here for, is to help each other. And this goes into the gluttony side of it, which I will go back to scripture. The first verse is Proverbs 25:16. Have you found pleasure sweet like honey? Eat only as much as you need. Otherwise, being filled excessively, you vomit it. Okay? Second verse, Proverbs 23:2. For you will put a knife to your throat if you are a man of great appetite. Sounds extreme. It's figurative for the most part. However, it's like that's what you are doing if you are consuming so much. You're being greedy and caring so much. The other verse, you may likely physically vomit. If we use the example of food, this is an experience I had, not to the point where I was vomiting. However, I struggled so much with overeating that I felt nauseous. I felt stuffed. I was bloated. My mood was impacted. I could not wait for that feeling to pass, and it consumed me so much. That's all I thought about. I could not, it was really hard to focus on other things. However, I realized that I was doing it to myself. And that freaked me out because I knew what could come of it. I sometimes want to see my insides to see how overeating was really affecting me because I felt it, and but the outside I could see my belly bulging out, and I just hated how that felt. I just felt so stuffed. And that was the wake up call for me to say, there's a problem, let's resolve it. And I had to change my mindset to know that I don't have to eat until I'm stuffed. For some reason, I believe that I had to clear my whole plate, or if I didn't, it would be wasteful. Excuse me. And there was a belief of, well, what if I want to save my food and eat it later? Well, how will I? Okay, that was a hiccup. But how will I save it, and how can I preserve it so that it doesn't go bad? And what if I don't eat it before it goes bad and then it's wasted? I have to throw it away. There was a rabbit hole in my mind. And so it sounded easier to say, just eat it now. The moment is here now, because I was hungry. So this is still the window to eat. May not make sense to you, doesn't make sense to me. At the time, it made sense. And sometimes it is a struggle. I definitely, I don't overeat the way I used to. Um, I am comfortable now turning away and knowing when I'm full, because not only does the feeling of being stuffed make me uncomfortable, but the thought of eating more doesn't sound good. If I feel full, I am content. I don't look at food as something I have to have in that moment, because I can look at food for what it is. I want it to taste good, and I'm eating for fuel, not just for pleasure. I'm eating so that I can keep going, because this is a necessity. And I can just see food as food and not as something that is tempting and so desirable that I'm just longing for it. And a way to shift that belief was by me telling myself, I may want it now, and I can return when I am hungry. I need to close my email so that notification doesn't go off. So telling myself no in the moment was uncomfortable, because I wanted something that was readily accessible, and I was telling myself I couldn't have it for good reasons. I'm not hungry, I'm full. What else do I need? And I knew the consequences. I've lived overeating many, 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 many times. It was no longer worth it to me. So telling myself no in the moment was temporary. It went away, because rather than feeling guilt for overeating and shame, I felt confident. I felt proud of myself for being able to say no to the God that I was serving. The food is what I was serving. And I did not want food to have that power over me. So that no felt, sometimes doesn't feel good, and that goes away. I feel that joy soon after, because I know that I'm telling myself no for a good reason. So I hope that you all can learn from me. Maybe you don't struggle with overeating. Maybe this applies to another area. And when I think about gluttony, yes, it applies to food. Attached with greed, I think of that overconsumption. Maybe your backpack is filled to the brim. What happens when it's stuffed and it explodes? That zipper can't take anymore. The items in your backpack are gonna vomit out, explode. Maybe there's a container that's full. Maybe there's a drawer. Are you stuffing your clothes in the drawer? They can't fit and it's just too much. Something's going to explode. So, this could be a time to check and declutter. Do you have things that no longer serve you? Do you have something that could help someone else in need? If you are hoarding and being greedy and trying to have every resource to yourself, that is being selfish. You are not considering other people. And I don't want to take this lightly because I believe there is a void that you may be trying to fill by having an excess of something. And for example, back to food, I wanted to have it all now because I was thinking about later. Even if I weren't hungry, I would say, let me eat now so that I'm not hungry when I go out. And let me buy up all this now so that I can have it for later. Now, planning is necessary. There is a way to do it that is effective and taking what you need. Let's go back to Proverbs 25:16. Have you found pleasure sweet like honey? Eat only as much as you need. Need. Eating, I think, is easier because your body lets you know when you're full. You have to trust your body to let you know. That's something else I struggle with. I didn't trust my body to tell me when I was full. It was all up in here. There was a mind thing, and my mind would convince me that I could have more. And rather than being a little bit full, my mind says, eat until you're stuffed. Like being stuffed was the marker for me knowing that I I had enough. And I didn't need to be stuffed. So, whatever resources you have, check in with yourself, look at what you need. Because there has to be a balance where you are able to help others and take care of yourself. You get to decide what that looks like because people pleasing is real. People pleasing is a struggle. So don't give everything you have away. That is foolish. And check to see the areas that you can give because I think of the parable now. This is likely in Luke. Let's see. So, Luke. So there was a parable. I will try to find it. I think of the parable of the man said, I have so much. What will I do with it? Oh, I will just build a bigger house over here. And that's not it. Just for all of his stuff. And he was called a fool because cannot find it. I will continue to look. If I don't find it before this video is over, I will still put it in the description. And so I think of that parable because the man he wanted to build more space to hold all of his stuff, and just that attachment, wanting to hold on to everything he had, and now it's gonna drive me crazy for not finding it. I just saw it yesterday, so okay. I want to find it, and I also just want to continue with my topic. That no. Okay, so I will do better with. I did not want to highlight it because it was so long that I just said I will search it and come back, and the way I searched it, I do not remember what I typed in to get it. So my point is, though, I think why this is also important is because you may have a lot, and you may be taking up room for what is meant to be there. And if you have an excess of something, I won't say you have to just give it all away, like as I said before, and keeping what is necessary, carrying what you need to get where you want to go. And this example also applies to me. I used the backpack earlier. Back when I was in school, my backpack was filled with everything for emergencies. And there are so many emergencies in the world, there is no way to know how to be prepared for all of those emergencies. And there was a dependency on things that if I weren't prepared, I would feel out of control and helpless, wouldn't know what to do. And that also may symbolize a lack of trust in my environment, a lack of dependency on other people. And so I'm hoarding it now. I'm trying to be prepared for everything as much as possible. And that does not allow for room for other people to step in, for me to advocate and use my voice when needed, and all the other tools that I have. And I think that's why greed and gluttony is so dangerous, is because if you are that selfish where you are just thinking about yourself, not sharing with other people, there isn't a give and take. And newsflash, we were all born here needing someone and something. And to just believe that you have it all and you have to have it all. Excuse me. And not helping other people. Why would anyone want to help you if you're being selfish, not wanting to help in return? Because God sees that. God is aware. All throughout the Bible, God is reminding us to be kind to others, love your neighbor, give to those in need. And if you are not in a position to do that, there is a block. It's time to figure out what is getting in the way of that. And just assessing, as I'm thinking about this more, chances are you don't realize how much you are depending on people and things. If you have a job, you're depending on someone to pay you. If you're in business for yourself, you're depending on people to come and purchase your product. And if you are selfish and greedy, people will see that. Why would anyone want to support you with that type of attitude and mentality? So, this now is the time. Hopefully, this is an eye opener for you to say, or just an eye opener for you to look at how you are representing yourself through your actions, and if you are showing up as your best self, because you will be left out in the cold serving Satan. As I said earlier, he will leave you high and dry. He does not care. He will likely convince you to keep sinning, or when you're down and in feeling that guilt and shame, he's off to the next person trying to convince them of the same thing. And with people, there, that community, we all have something to give. And that is how we work together. That is how we've gotten this far. And there is a time and place for everything. So, remembering that, going back to that example with food, if you are constantly feeding yourself and stuffing yourself, you're not allowing time to pass where hunger had its time, now fullness has its time, then that digestion needs its time. You're slowing down your digestion process. You're not making room for other things. Maybe it's time for lunch, and maybe you're going to work on something. Maybe you want to go for a walk. Be creative. Spend time with friends and family. But if you're just trying to make room for this one thing so much, again, this is what you're serving. That one thing is what you are choosing to serve, as if your life depends on it, and there's no room for anything else. That is that destruction. That is you figuratively putting that knife to your throat and saying, and just creating misery for yourself. And that doesn't sound good. If you are creating this for yourself, you are to blame. Doesn't feel good, and that accountability is necessary because it shows that you have control. If you want control over yourself, now is the time to look at how to regain that control, because you can blame Satan and you can blame other people, and that choice is still up to you. So that is why God gives us free will. God hopes and wants us to choose Him and choosing to serve Him. And why force it? I spoke about this in a previous video. I don't think, if I were God, that just doesn't sound ideal to me, to force people to come to me and to serve me. The genuineness, is that a word? It's a word right now. That genuineness is how you can truly see where a person's heart is and their motives. So, I hope that this was concise. I know I'm interchanging greed and gluttony here and there. Those two topics were on my heart because I think it is sadly common that those two spirits exist in people. And just the gatekeeping. I hear often that, for example, if you're on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and someone posts something and says, I'll DM you this, and people have to constantly comment to say, what is this? What is this? I'll DM you, or DM me to find out. Now, I don't know why people do that. I can assume. However, and I, maybe that's not the best example of gatekeeping. There are times where I will see someone post and not share the details. The crabs in a bucket metaphor as well, of you see people wanting to get where you are. People need help and you're not willing to help them out and share. And I don't understand why. I think I'm trying to, and this may be an additional video that I can touch on this subject, because I don't I don't understand. I can imagine why a person doesn't want to share. Maybe you are in a place where you want it all to yourself, back to that greed. Maybe you want to be the only one that has this resource in this gate. Maybe there's some validation and recognition in being the one with all of these resources. And guess what? That's an opportunity for you to profit off of that in some way, whether it is earning money or just that validation, that recognition where people can leave you reviews and positive feedback to say, I learned from this person, they taught me how to get here. Whatever it is, if you are gatekeeping, if you are not willing to share, you are blocking your blessings for more. And hopefully you can see it that way and realize that being greedy is limiting you. Especially, again, if food is an easy one, because if you are so weighed down, you are not moving as quickly as you need to. Maybe you're not thinking as sharply, and you are limiting yourself from behaving or using your full potential and growing to a higher state. So don't limit yourself. There's an abundance. God has put so much in this world for us to utilize, so much that we have not seen or heard of, and it's out there. It will be revealed to us, But if we are just so consumed with this little thing, we may miss it. We may never see it in this lifetime. And that's scary. We become bored. So allow yourself to be bored and go to the next thing. And I know I spoke on voids earlier. If there's a void that you are trying to fill by doing something unethical, you have to realize that that void will still be there and will likely be deeper and wider because your current state is not repairing the void. And what you do to fill that void it's very fleeting. Going back to a thief. Yes, you may have succeeded in robbing someone, and you will likely crave more. You will have that hunger for more, and you will still have to deal with whatever is under the surface. So, that is all. Deep breath. I took one. I hope you take one too, because this topic felt heavy. Even re-recording it different. I didn't try to make it similar, even though I use the same scriptures. I like to be present and freestyle, and I hope that this was concise, and I hope that you all can learn from my experiences because I am here with you. It is a practice. I am human. That is why with God, I am constantly trying to evolve and admit my flaws and learn to get better each day. And I pray the same for you. I pray that you are delivered from these two spirits of greed and gluttony. I pray that you are no longer bound by Satan and choosing to serve God. And amen. Feels like there's more, but that's just as simple as I need it to be. I think it needs to be. It's just being delivered, turning toward God, away from Satan. Like, pew, that's Satan. We kicking him out. And publicly acknowledge that. Like, let Satan hear that you are dismissing him and doing away with him. Like, I see you trying. You failed though. So go play in the dirt or something. Go play in fire. And let God deal with Satan. God doesn't want us to spend too much time on the enemy, especially with a hateful heart. So you can acknowledge Satan and do away with him. Spend your energy on the things that are good and rewarding for you. So that is all for today, in this video at least. Thank you for tuning in. It is a pleasure sharing this information with you all. There will be resources. I spoke on an eating disorder. I was not diagnosed clinically. However, I have enough awareness to know that I struggled with some disordered eating. My relationship with food has not been the healthiest, and unlearning all of those behaviors have been very recent within the past few years. So, not a easy topic to dive into, and I will share those resources in the description as well as scriptures. If I can find Luke, the parable, I will. Just know the man was hoarding, and God said, "You fool, your soul needs you now." And the man, he said, "What am I going to do with all this stuff?" "Oh, yeah, I'll just build more space." Something. He said, "My soul said something." I'm going to find it. I'll get it together. When I don't have the answers, read the Bible for yourselves, because I'm learning too. So be well, stay hydrated and moisturized, take care of yourselves. Until next time, bye bye.